Almost 1 year ago, I took delivery of my Tesla Model 3, and since then I've driven it over 26,000 miles. So is it still the best car I've ever driven, or was it a $50,000 mistake? Let's find out. Big thanks to Audible for sponsoring this video. Now, in my original Model 3 review video that I did last year, I mainly went over the features of the car because I had only owned it for 2 months at that time. Now, in this video, I'm gonna go over my experience of owning a Tesla Model 3 for almost 1 year and focus on the 3 most important things that I think people look for in a car, which is reliability, cost, and enjoyment. When I first got my Model 3, I was a little skeptical on how reliable it would be because it was the first generation of its kind, and there were a couple horror stories online from early adopters who were experiencing software or hardware issues, and my Model 3 was one of the first 15,000 or so that were produced, so I was a little nervous, not to mention the big lifestyle change from going gasoline to a fully electric vehicle. Well, I can honestly say that my Model 3 has been 100% reliable so far, and yes, even though that should be expected from a brand new car, it's still a nice surprise just because of the fact that Tesla is still relatively so young compared to all the other car manufacturers right now, and since the Tesla Model 3 is still just a very unique car in itself. I have never been stranded. The lowest battery I think I've ever had was 12 miles of range left when I returned home from a road trip. So yes, range anxiety does exist, but the Model 3's energy graph is extremely accurate in predicting the estimated range left when driving. So as long as you pay attention to that and plan ahead, you'll be fine and shouldn't ever have to worry about running out of battery. I've never had any major software or hardware failures. I think the worst things that I've probably experienced so far are minor things that are related to software somehow. So for example, one time my sound system was completely frozen. It was muted, everything, you couldn't hear sounds from music playing from Bluetooth or streaming, or even the sound effects from things like the turn signal. It was all muted and frozen. Luckily, things like that, minor software bugs can easily be fixed with just a soft reboot of the screen, which takes about a minute to do. I've never had any major reliability issues. It's pretty much been perfect so far. For how heavily integrated the Model 3 is with software, I'm actually surprised it's worked this well so far. I was expecting a little bit more issues because it's so software focused, but luckily, I haven't run into any major issues over the first 26,000 miles. And there have been 2 repairs done on my Model 3 as far as hardware goes. Both of those times, the Tesla Mobile Ranger came out to my location and fixed the issue on the spot within an hour or so. And the first repair was my driver door handle wasn't closing fast enough. It took a little bit too much time, so he fixed that. And then the other time it was just a click, my windshield wiper was making a clicking noise. So those were both very minor. Those were fixed, like I said, for free, covered under the warranty, which brings me into the next category, which is cost. And surprisingly, this is one of my favorite things about the Model 3. Now, my biggest and really only complaint about the cost of a Model 3 is the upfront price. Yes, there is a $35,000 base model now that is finally released, and yes, it's the cheapest out of all the Tesla models. However, with all the desired add-ons that you'd want in a Tesla, the Model 3 is still too expensive for most people. However, if you can afford it and it fits your budget, I honestly believe the Model 3's high upfront cost is totally worth it in the long run. My Model 3 is a long-range rear-wheel drive with aero wheels, and it was around $50,000. However, if you compare it to a similarly priced gasoline vehicle, the Model 3 is one of the cheapest cars to own. Now, since getting my Model 3, here's how much I've spent on gasoline, oil changes, repairs and maintenance, and tire rotations. Now, out of all of those things during the first 25,000 miles in a Model 3, you really only need to do one, which is tire rotations. Now, the reason I haven't spent anything on tire rotations is because I got lucky. There's a local tire shop that gives free rotations to Tesla owners, just another perk for owning an electric car. So your situation might be different, but that's the reason why I haven't spent anything on any of those things. So no more buying gas or paying for oil changes or anything that pertains to an internal combustion engine vehicle. My insurance went up by about $500 a year. However, I believe that my insurance would have went up by that much anyways with any brand new car in a similar price range. Really, the only thing that has cost me money to drive my Model 3 has been the electricity to charge the car. And that electricity comes from 2 sources, either my home electricity or a Tesla supercharger. Now, where I live, my charging cost is cheap at 6.8 cents per kilowatt hour, and my Model 3's average watt hour per mile is 248, which is really impressive because I live in Louisville, Kentucky, where we experience all 4 seasons. It gets below zero in the winter, gets above 100 in the summer, and with an average of 248 watt hours per mile over all 4 seasons, it just goes to prove that the long-range Model 3 is one of, if not the best and the most efficient electric car out right now. So it took 6,457 kilowatt hours to drive just over 26,000 miles. And based on my calculations from a previous video, the Model 3 gets about 80% energy efficiency. So it actually took about 8,071 kilowatt hours. And at my current electricity rate of 6.8 cents per kilowatt hour, that comes to $549 that I've spent on electricity to drive my Model 3 over 26,000 miles. However, some of that electricity was obtained at superchargers, where I spent a total of $54. Also, keep in mind that I've charged basically for free at certain charging spots like parking garages and hotels and even at family members' houses when I visit them. So my total cost to drive my Model 3 over 26,000 miles has been less than $600. And my electricity bill has only gone up by an average of $36 per month. That is absolutely incredible. To put it in perspective, a car that gets 30 miles a gallon at an average gas cost of $2.75 a gallon would cost $2,383 to drive 26,000 miles. And if you add a $50 oil change every 4,000 miles, that would be an additional $325. So that's a total of $2,000 of savings in less than a year. Of course, these numbers are personal to my situation. It's different for everybody. However, this is still a real life example of how much a person can save by going all electric, especially going to a Tesla Model 3. Now we're entering the last category, which is enjoyment. And this is also one of my favorite categories of the Model 3. I can have 2 favorites, right? It's no surprise that the Model 3 is an absolute joy to drive, but I'm gonna quickly go over some things that I don't like because after all, nothing is perfect. First off, the windshield and windows fog up more than any other car I've ever driven. And I don't know if that's just me. I don't know if it's just the area I live in, if it's my car. I don't know what it is. If you have a Model 3, let me know if you've experienced this. But luckily, I just got some like cheap fog reducer on Amazon that I put on the windshield, inside of the windshield, which helps a little bit, but it's still kind of annoying how easily it fogs up. I also wish the frunk had a different closing mechanism. I use the frunk a lot. It's a perfect size for a gym bag and some shoes and a basketball. So whenever I close it, I have to put my hand on it, or maybe sometimes both hands, and it leaves some handprints on the hood. So I wish it like closed automatically or just had a different closing mechanism. And also the lumbar setting does not get saved to a driver profile. So I don't understand that either. Like every other seat setting and steering wheel and mirror setting gets saved to a driver profile, except the lumbar setting, which I don't understand. It's kind of strange. However, luckily that is able to be fixed through a software update, which leads me into the plethora of things that I absolutely love about the Tesla Model 3. One of them being the premium sound system. Now, listening to music is an awesome experience, but do you know what I truly love to listen to in my Model 3, which I listen to all the time? Audiobooks. And today's sponsor is my favorite audiobook service, Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now they have Audible Originals, which are exclusive audio titles created by celebrated storytellers from many different genres. Now, as an Audible member, each month you get 1 credit that can be used for any audiobook of your choice, plus 2 Audible Originals that you cannot get anywhere else. Of course, Audible does have the Elon Musk biography, and if you want to learn more about Elon Musk and his story of how he became the leader of Tesla and SpaceX, you can get that or any other audiobook for free when you try Audible for 30 days by visiting audible.com/AndySlye or text AndySlye to 500-500. So if you're like me and you enjoy listening to books more than reading them, Audible is the best for that. I love being able to be entertained or learn something while I do one of my favorite things in this world, and that is drive my Model 3. Get your first audiobook for free by trying Audible free for 30 days by going to audible.com/AndySlye or text AndySlye to 500-500. Now let me go over the other things that I truly love about my Model 3. How a car can be this simple and minimalist yet pack so much power and torque is something I'll always be impressed with. The instant torque and quickness makes driving, especially things like merging and passing, effortless and fun. It handles as well, if not better, than other sporty cars in its price range because of the better traction control from it being an EV and the low center of gravity and balanced weight distribution due to the battery being underneath the entire length of the car. But there's one thing that turns a lot of people off, and it's actually one of my favorite things about the Model 3. It's the clean minimalist design of the entire car. Driving a Model 3 makes you realize how useless and unnecessary most other cars' buttons and dials are. Autopilot is an absolute lifesaver, like literally. Yes, there are times when it will phantom brake, but if you're using it as it's designed, you will always have a hand on the wheel ready to take over. And I love knowing that each time I use it, it's getting better through the neural network. It just removes the burden of having to endlessly stare out of the windshield at the same spot and allows me to be more aware of my other surroundings, which has honestly made me feel safer. And when it comes to it, the Model 3 is just smarter than any other car I've ever had the experience of driving or interacting with. It just automates basic things, which allows me to worry less. My phone is my key, so ever since I got a smart lock at home, I stopped carrying keys altogether. All I carry is my phone and wallet. My Model 3 automatically unlocks as I approach, and it locks as I walk away. It's always on and ready to drive, and it's utterly quiet when driving. If it's raining, the wipers turn on automatically. If it recognizes a car ahead, it automatically turns off my brights, then turns them back on after. It charges overnight while I sleep. It stops charging when it reaches whatever limit I have set, and I wake up to an 80% charge every day or 100% charge if I'm about to take a road trip. No more stopping at gas stations. I can press a button, tell it to play a song, and it plays it. I can tell it to drive somewhere, and it gives me real-time step-by-step directions on a beautiful, responsive 15-inch touchscreen, which is the best screen in any vehicle right now, in my opinion. The Model 3 gets better over time through free software updates that it automatically downloads and installs itself. When I got my Model 3 almost a year ago, it had a maximum rated range of 310 miles on a full charge. Now, after a free software update, and even after any battery degradation from driving 26,000 miles, my Model 3 gets 320 rated miles on a full charge. It actually got better over time, and Tesla is constantly releasing these software updates with new features, like recently had dog mode and sentry mode and a 5% power boost. So no other car is doing this right now. It's absolutely amazing. It's really comfortable, even for a tall guy like me. The front seats are some of the most comfortable I've ever sat in. The back seat's a little bit firmer, not as comfortable. However, Tesla has fixed this with updated seating. I'm 6'4" and I can sit in the back fairly comfortably without my head hitting the roof. Oh, and the roof, it's pure glass, and it's seriously one of the things that impresses riders the most. I'm so glad that Tesla has included that glass roof on all the models, even the base model. And the manual door handles are a little funky for new riders. However, as an owner, they're fine. I love having two trunks, and of course the ability to control my car from my smartphone, like summon it or preheat it in the winter. It really satisfies my inner geek. So after all that, was the Model 3 a $50,000 mistake? My biggest mistake was probably not buying one for my wife before the Model Y was announced. Bottom line, the Model 3 is a beautiful car full of the latest technology, and it's much better for the environment than any other brand new gasoline car would ever be. Yes, the Model 3 is still the best car I've ever driven, and it's ruined all other cars for me, except maybe the future Tesla Roadster. So what do you think? Do you own a Model 3? Are you looking to get one? What's your favorite thing about it? Do you think it's worth it? Let me know. Leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Andy. If you want to see more Tesla videos and tech-related videos in the future, make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.